we go, let's get those wheels out on the road. It may get dusty, but that's the way she goes. We'll build some greasy old cars and drink our AGD. Hey, don't you know, it's partly built.
So I'm back. Got a new camera, so we'll see how well this works out. See how good the audio and stuff is. I'm just going to tinker around in the garage here for a half hour or so. I might dig out the V12. Just, because I'm kind of at a standstill with the front suspension. So I might as well, get more crap in my way. At the very least, when I'm done messing with it here, getting an idea if I have to move back the firewall and stuff, I can always put it on the other engine stand. So the light's going to be pretty poor. I guess we're going to see how the low light is on the Hero 12. And see if we can't at least set the V12 there to see how stupid of an idea this is. As you could see, well, hopefully you could see in the time lapse, I had to move a lot of stuff, and it was a bit of a screw around, but we got the engine out on the crane, and it's not good news. So as you can see here, we're back to the gusseting on the firewall here with the valve cover. This is where the rad sits, is right underneath basically the front cover. But we're tight on the side, so that's good news too. And unfortunately, it's pretty much the same news on the other side here. As you can see in here, we're right tight to where that pedal was. The back of the engine is a little bit towards the passenger side, like it's not exactly square, but we're hitting on all this too. So I'm going to have to basically take these completely out, because as it sits, I got to move this engine back like 7-8 inches. So I was hoping not to mess with too much of the firewall, but I think by the look of things, I'm pretty much going to cut the entire firewall from about here on each side, and right from this body line where it kind of wraps down. And we're going to rebuild all this and have to re-gusset this cab mount here. You can see a little better on the other side because I have one light over here and a little more light from my garage door opener. But if we cut it from this body line here across kind of here and down along the inside of this mount here, try and leave this sheet metal behind and just kind of rebuild this framing here, move the firewall back. And I haven't got a tape measure out yet, but like I said, I'm thinking it's, I don't know, 8 inches back we're gonna have to move this thing. But I mean, it's a gasser. When they were putting small blocks in these, and big blocks, they would move the firewall back just, to help with weight transfer. So that part doesn't concern me too much. Yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's not like this is a pristine, unmangled firewall. But, we'll start with that. The other thing I should probably do is I should probably throw a wrench on the front of this crank and make sure this thing isn't seized up. My luck with engines. Plus, I threw this whole engine in the parts washer with homemade caps for the intakes and exhaust. And I hope I had a dipstick tube in it. So just homemade covers on the side stuff. So I'm going to quick throw a wrench on it, make sure this engine still turns over, or else I'll be engine shopping again. So yeah, I'll make sure it's all right. And then I'm going to throw a stand and some blocks under the back of the pan here, because the front's sitting on this rusted out old cross member. But I'll get that all figured out here, and then I'll catch up with you. So it's good news. The ratchet turns. You can actually hear compression leaking past stuff, and it turns not bad. So that's good news. The engine isn't seized up. So yeah, I'll throw a stand under this thing, and I think we'll see where we are there. All right, so it's been about a week, and we're back on the car. And you'll see there's been some changes in the garage. As you can see, I went on a shopping spree on the weekend. Got a bottle for the welder. Got some Milwaukee stuff. Stopped at Princess Auto, got some stuff there. It doesn't matter. But I wired up the garage a little bit. And like 14.2 is expensive. And I only have a little bit of it. But I did have a 100-foot extension cord. So the garage has been wired with a 100-foot extension cord. And we went from 1 plug-in to 5. So we're really improving. Got the wood stove in. And it works pretty good. It heats up a lot more than I figured it would. Anyway, I've kind of done a little bit of cleaning and organizing. I got pack out kits I gotta get brackets on the wall for. I got rid of my toolbox that was in here, gave that to Josh. Brought my cart home from Josh's and organized it somewhat. So, missing a couple sockets and whatnot that I'm gonna have to get. I think I've got spares at work, but whatever. I didn't want to dig into my Milwaukee pack out one because I want to kind of leave that as it is. I'll just get a couple miscellaneous ones from work. But anyway, I think, oh, and I have ordered some lighting for the garage. So hopefully that shows up here this week and I can get it in either later this week or on the weekend. And we'll actually have light in here, so it'll be a little nicer to work with a little bit of heat and some light. I mean, other than the smoke just hanging in here, it should be quite a bit better. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the firewall. Whereabouts we're going to cut it. I'm going to mark it small because I can always make it bigger later. I mean, you can make it smaller later too, but that is a lot more work. So I'll mark the firewall. We'll figure out what we're going to cut. And then I may or may not start removing stuff from the firewall. We'll see how ambitious I am, but I'll mark it. We'll lift the engine out and we'll start cutting. And then we'll figure out what we're going to do here for bringing back structure and filling the firewall back in, but that can be done way later. As long as we get it cut out, we can get stuff kind of back where it needs to be. I still got to order engine mounts. We still got to narrow the axle, but Josh is in the middle of moving right now, so we won't be doing the axle anytime soon. So I figure I'll make the most of the time I have in here doing stuff I can actually do. So we'll get started cutting the firewall back today, and then we'll see if we can slide that engine back. I got to measure how far back I need it because I know the radiator sits here. So if I measure how far back I need to be able to fit the radiator and a fan and everything, we can kind of get figured where we need to be. Now that I've got the firewall marked, kind of roughly, it's not exactly square side to side, but like I can make it square later. It's going to take a lot of messing around, especially with me not knowing exactly what I'm going to do, exactly what I want to do, or exactly how to do it. But now I'll get the grinder and I'll make my rough cut, and then I'll try and pull the pedal assembly off the frame here. Maybe whatever these mounts are back in here that you can't see. And then we'll try and shoehorn this very small engine into here. I mean, it's just an aluminum 5.3. People put aluminum 5.3s in vehicles all the time. So anyway, I'll grab the grinder. We'll start cutting. Alright, well, I only cut out a small amount of the firewall, I swear. Don't mind that, that's just the heater, what's left of the heater box sitting there. But anyway, I got a large section cut out of it now. As you can see, had to use up 2 of my more wore out grinder discs. Grabbed a fresh one, killed one battery, overheated the grinder, so I had to switch to the Sawzall for a while. Then when it was just vibrating too much, I went back to the grinder because it had cooled off. But yeah, that's all out of there. I cut a bunch of that pedal out of there. Those are the cab mounts. Like there's a second bolt right here on both sides going into these brackets. And that's my cab mounts. So I'm leery. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter because I can add anything I want for more strength. But anyway, there is a ton more room here. So now let's go ahead and stuff the V12 back in. Try to get the front of the engine back from the radiator mount, I don't know, about 4 or 5 inches. And we'll see where it sits. It's really going to mess with the seating position in the cab, but it's not going to have a back seat, so I guess it's not the end of the world. You just adjust where your pedals and everything are to make it work. Eventually I'll try and enclose it as small as I can while still maintaining the ability to work on this fairly easily. But the other thing is, whose idea was it to put this axle in the way? Because it is just completely in the way all the time. Like, I gotta shimmy it this way to get stuff by that side. I gotta shimmy it that way to get stuff by this way. Anyway, I'll throw it back on the time lapse here, and we'll stuff this engine back kind of where it needs to be. Maybe throw a stand or 2 under it and see what it looks like. Okay, so obviously we're going to have to work on like angles and centering it. So that's kind of where I want it. If anything, it could go back another inch. I kind of marked on the frame here. It's tough to tell in this light that I want the front of the block here. So it's going to move back about an inch, inch and a half from where it is. And the radiator sits in this bracket here. And I'm pretty sure I can mount it front or back of this bracket. Like I can make things up here work how I need them. As long as it fits inside the front clip, that's all that matters. So basically, I just need enough room to be able to get in here and change the belts and have room for the fan. But like I said, I don't have a radiator for this car. So I can kind of do whatever I want for a radiator as long as I can fit it behind the grille and under the hood. But I put the engine very low, which is kind of where I'm hoping it can be. Should have lots of room between it and the suspension because, of course, as you can see, the front end is going to be high. And if anything, I don't know, I like a real nose-high gasser, and I know that's terrible to drive, but gassers are terrible to drive anyway, so 6 of one, half dozen of the other anyway. But the back end will drop an inch or so, so the front end's probably about where I want it, but we're going to have spring sag and everything, so they'll be messing around with all this. But the main point is the engine's kind of where I want it, and as you can see, roughly only 1 cylinder on each side is in the cab. So I only lost a little bit of my footwell. And I don't think that'll be too bad. There's not too much of it under the dash now. So the engine is very precariously perched on 2 jack stands and a ratchet strap. So I expect it to fall. So I'll put the crane back on it. I just wanted it off so I could see. If I was really ambitious, I'd grab my intake manifolds off the back wall and set them on there. You know what? If it wasn't for the fact I'd have to mess with all of these caps, and take the straps off, I'd be tempted to do it. So the plan this winter is I want to get engine mounts in, I want to get transmission mounted, and I want to get front suspension installed. So in order for me to do all that, I'm gonna have to get a bell housing. I'm gonna have to put my spare transmission together, which means ordering gear clusters and stuff for it. I gotta buy engine mounts. Josh and I gotta narrow the front axle. And that's where the next problem lies. Josh is in the middle of moving. He's having a kid in about a month here. And things are gonna be hectic for him. And then we gotta get his new shop set up. And his new shop is like dirt floor, barely any lights. I don't even know if it has 220. He said it's got power. I don't know if it's got 220. So it's kind of going to be, you know, get his move done, get the excitement and all the stress of the new child taken care of. And then just in our spare time, get the body off the Galaxy, get the body off the Crown Vic, swap over engines. I got to get a bell housing and modify it so I can put a transmission in, which means clutch, flywheel, bell housing. Actually might have a clutch, I'm not sure. But like just stuff like that. And then pedals. Need pedals for the cab. Need to build entire mounts. We need to either extend or shorten the frame. I can't remember. Like it's gonna be a lot of stuff. So like we're really pushing ourselves to try and get it done in time with all the other things that are going on in his life and in mine. So this for sure, we're gonna be tinkering in our spare time. A little bit of money, a little bit of time, and we're going to see how far we can get it to go. Like I said, I got gas now for the welder. My little cordless grinder is good enough for what I'm doing in here. I got new lights coming, so like it should be a lot nicer. The wood stove already makes a huge difference. So even just if I can get all that stuff done on this winter, so the car's a roller, that means I can move it around, like whatever I need to do. Thanks for watching, guys. If you want, you can follow me on Instagram. I don't post as much as I used to, but I'm trying to be better about it. If you want to like, you want to subscribe, you want to leave a comment, even if it's like a you suck, go ahead, leave comments. You know, I don't answer half of them anyway because I'm terrible with social media and whatnot, but trying to be better. Anyway, we'll catch you in the next one. Hopefully you like the project, even though it's slow and it's quite a bit of hackery until I get someone with some skills to give me a hand again.